If there's one thing world leaders have today, it is power. A lot of power. They are responsible for huge populations, control economies, and even head national militaries. With these many responsibilities, it's understandable that it is in a country's best interest to give their first citizen the best security money can buy.
The one-time president was not only the leader of one of the most powerful countries in the world, but he is also a big-time billionaire with hundreds of businesses all over the world. Trump's political position, personal wealth, and love for security make up the reasons why the billionaire president's term in office broke a record with his security expenses. How big a record, you ask? Well, while the protection of the previous president, Barack Obama, and his family cost the country about $16 million a year, Trump's time in office raised the bar to a staggering $29 million. That alone was enough to knock over some records, but it gets even more astonishing. In 2017, the U.S. Congress budgeted a whopping $120 million for the protection of Donald Trump and his family. Now, you are probably wondering just how Trump managed to splurge $120 million on security, and you are about to find out. To begin with, the elite Secret Service in charge of protecting the then-president had more than 7,000 elements, like the different units and personnel, all perfectly coordinated and ready for any situation that might have threatened the life of Trump. Of course, these elements did not cost no small bills, hence the overwhelming protection fees. A significant part of the protection fees were spent on the Beast. Not a beast, the Beast. The Beast has been referred to as the safest limousine in the world, and I couldn't agree more. The limo comes with 5-inch thick armor plating, 5 layers of bulletproof glass, 8-inch thick doors that vacuum seal the interior just in case of any chemical attack, heavy-hitting guns, Kevlar tires, and steel rims that can drive with full function, even if the tires are popped. The Beast's fuel tank is well insulated so that it cannot explode or leak, and the interior has its own oxygen tank, just in case of a chemical emergency. In the trunk of this magnificent car is a firefighting system, tear gas and smokescreen systems, a full medical kit, and bags of the president's blood type just in case he needs a transfusion. With all these, Trump still had a lifeline that is a direct, secure line to the vice president and the Pentagon. Regardless of where he is headed, the presidential motorcade always consists of more than 30 vehicles a trip, and you will most likely not find a grander entourage. At the head of the entire motorcade, there are usually a few normal police cars or bikes from the local area, tasked with clearing the air and making sure the coast is clear. Right behind the police cars and bikes are the pilot cars that clear the way in the area. They are usually located directly in front of the president's vehicle, and they act as a buffer between the outside world and the little safe bubble that the president exists in. The lead cars are the next in the convoy, and they comprise of the Beast and its replicas. Usually there are just 2 lead cars, named the authentic Beast and a replica, but there is no limit to the number of lead cars the president needs. Donald Trump developed the strategy of adding replicas of the Beast to his convoy to serve 2 purposes. One, to throw off any potential attackers, and to transport any other VIPs that the president may have. Next in line is a halfback that rides behind the president and carries his security detail. If there is only one halfback, which there rarely is, then it is probably chock full with the CAT, the counter-assault team. These guys are the main security detail that travel behind the president, and it is their duty to contain the situation if the motorcade is ambushed. Riding behind them is a van called the Watchtower that has little antennas on the top to disable any sort of electronic devices from going off. Along with that is an ID car to identify any threats and communicate with other members of the motorcade, especially the vehicles at the head of the convoy, and the pilot vehicles to make sure no threats lie ahead. Riding right behind the ID car is a hazard mitigation unit that looks like a black ambulance and is fully equipped to deal with any sort of biological hazards. It more or less functions as a roadrunner that creates a secure network between everyone in the motorcade and the outside world. Of course, there is also an ambulance that rides in the back of the motorcade, ready to assist in any sort of medical emergency, obviously prioritizing the president. At the far end of the convoy sits the rear guard that protects the back of the motorcade. The entire entourage travels with the president everywhere he goes, whether it's a lunch date or a trip to a foreign country. Aside from the vehicles in his entourage, there are a ton of other vehicles and aircrafts used solely for Trump's security, like Air Force One, which he rode guarded by 2 F-35 combat forces, the Marine One and the Ground Force One. Other units involved one way or another in protecting the U.S.'s #1 citizen include K-9 units, emergency response teams, snipers, motorized units, and special operations teams that carry out orders for the sake of the president's safety.